What is up, realmers and pups, furries, fays, dragonkins, cryptids, mythical creatures, beings of consciousness, concepts of reality, gamers alike. How it to go, how it to be, how it is. So the last part was fairly chill. You should join the Empire or something. It's pretty chill. Oh. Okay, that might benefit me. Oh, hold on. What's this? Okay, they're level 20. I noticed that someone else was, Wait, I got an XP boost? I mean, not an XP boost, a freaking loot boost? When? It's probably the last part. Interesting. Ouch. Well, that XP thing was huge. What the? What the hell? What? Alright. Well, I mean, hey, there's not too many roamers on right now. At least in terms of, realming. Ooh. Okay, they're going Sprite World, so. Oh, that's a tavern. Ooh, okay, we're heading over there. Yeah, I mean, I thought this part, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I guess I could talk about my beatboxing endeavors, you know? Oh, yeah, give me that. Nice. Okay, tier 4. Because, yeah, I mean, I beatbox for, well, how many years has it been? It's been so long. Let me do the math really quick. So, let's see. I'm trying to do the math without giving too much about myself away here. I mean, well over a decade for sure. I think it's been 17 years? I think I beatbox now for over 17 years, about to be 18 years. And you know, I think I was around since like the birth of the scene, and you know, it's just like what it's turned into now is like so different, because like back then originality was glorified. I think that's what everyone was trying to go for, was being original. And you know, nowadays it's like, how do I describe it? Now it's just like everyone's doing the same patterns, everyone's doing the same techniques, and it's like, if you don't sound like everyone else, you're not going to get far. And I hate to say this, but it is true. The whole scene right now, as to what I know about it, is pretty rigged. Like, I remember you know, I was concerned because there was a lot of different things going on, like different scandals that were happening, such as there's this online battle that this one dude, Chesame, was hosting with his buddy. That the winner would receive, I think it was like $10,000 or something like that. Like, it was an absurd amount of money, and that's like the most money that's been offered since like, oh, I got here too late, damn it. That's like the most money that's been offered to a winner of a beatbox competition in like ever. Like that was gonna make history. But for some reason, this one guy who, like the people that got in were like really, like they were obviously like connected to this individual who was hosting it, and like a lot of beatboxers are like, what happened to all these other like really hard hitting entries at least, you know? And it was like, well, just we're judging based off of everything. We're judging based off of mic quality, video quality, like, you know, just like a whole bunch of different factors to make it to where people couldn't really be like, yo, this is kind of sus. And it turned into this thing where like one of their close friends ended up winning. And I mean, yeah, he was good, but like better than the other runner-up. Oh, hold up. Okay, cool. All right, let's do a Tomb of the Ancients. But you know, I mean, yeah, he was good, but you know, there's a lot of entries that should have made it. There was a lot of other competitors who were like doing really hard-hitting routines and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it turned into this like, oh, what a surprise type of ordeal. And you know, it was kind of like disheartening. And I feel like that was kind of like near the era where beatboxing started to die, at least in my opinion. Because now you just get a lot of people that like, they're like a carbon copy of like everyone else. And like, you know, when, at least personally, like when I'm judging a beatboxer, right, based off of like a whole plethora of different things, like I'm listening to originality, I'm listening to pretty much like, oh, okay, I'm not gonna be able to tap this. But I'm listening to originality, I'm listening to, oh, I gotta be careful here. I'm listening to if they can keep their flow, like a whole spectrum of stuff. The cleanliness of sounds. Does it actually sound like what they're trying to hit? Like the genre, because there's usually like, beatboxers usually go for a genre like dubstep, EDM, reggae, a whole list of stuff. Damn, they're making this really impossible to press on that freaking switch. Here, you need to go. Okay. And so, you know, that's like the things that I listen to, at least if I'm judging and whatnot. And which I have judged in the past. And I don't know. It's just like, it's a pretty big accusation to say that most of the scene, if not the entire scene, is rigged. But like, if you were there from the beginning, you would understand what I'm saying there, because like there's just a lot of sussy things going on. And like, I remember trying to get on Swiss Beatbox for like the longest time. Like I was always like, hey, let me get on. And you know, finally I get a response back from Andres Paponi, and it was like this whole ordeal, right? Like I was still like I was young, I was a teenager, but like I was, you know, really good. I still am, but like at that time I was very, very unique. Like I made a name for myself, and I feel like I still kinda am unique. Like I'm not gonna like toot my own horn here, but like I do feel like I'm still fairly unique. At least in terms of like how I beatbox, because like especially now, since like, well, maybe I should say I'm more unique than ever, because like yeah, again, like a lot of the scene is just like, oh, your name is Butter Arrow Wood. Oh, okay, let's hear it. And it's like they bust something, and it's just like, oh, that's literally what this other beatboxer, Bean Butter Stone, sounds like, you know. And I don't know, but pretty much like my first hand and the like ultimate like, oh wow, this is all rigged kind of hit in was when I joined this online tournament during when like COVID was really prevalent. Not, well, it wasn't an online tournament actually. It was I'm sorry, because I did that as well, but it was I put in a it's called a wild card. Basically, it's your quote unquote audition for the not beatboxer person, right? That's what they'll call it, is an audition. But in beatboxing, they call it a wild card. But pretty much I put in a wild card, and like I think like 70 some odd other people put in a wild card as well. And I remember I was in this like group chat, and I was like, hey, so I'm just asking, you know, kind of a odd question here, but this isn't rigged, is it? And this beatboxer, who I won't name names here, because I don't think they deserve to have their name around, especially after what they pulled on me. But pretty much what happened was I asked that question, and you know, he starts blowing a fucking gasket. Like, he's like, really? You're gonna be disrespecting my homies like that? I've known them for a long time, man, and they're not like that. They're not rigged whatsoever. And I was like, well, I'm just asking, you know, it's just a question. There's no need to, you know, start making it out to be like the answer's yes, you know, from your reaction. He's like, you're just fishing for that, bruh. You're just fishing for that, you know, and you don't even know what beatboxing is. And at that time, I was beatboxing for like maybe like 13, 14 years, maybe 15 years, I think it was, somewhere around there. And I was just like, actually, dude, I've been around since the Ventrilo days, since bathroom freestyles, which, if you don't know, there's this app that you can get on your computer called Ventrilo, and it's where beatboxers used to hang out, because that was the only like online community-esque way to hang out and jam with other beatboxers. Like, I've jammed with Alem, I've jammed with ZD, I've jammed with Mix Effects, I've jammed with Skiller, Slizzer, you know, like, I've jammed with all of the like, basically the foundational beatboxers. I've jammed with all of them. I've shared insight with them. They've shared insight with me, and you know, we talked to beatbox, and we've inspired so many people. And so for someone to say that to me, I was like, dude, I can only see them as like a little child, you know. And I was like, dude, like you probably don't know who you're talking to, but that's okay. I get it, because you must be fairly new to the scene. And they took offense to that, and they're like, no, I've been in the scene for a long time, and you know, I barely even heard about you till this recent battle you went to. And I was like, that's how I know you're ignorant, dude. You're ignorant. And it sounds like I'm you know, having an ego here, but I guess it's safe to say I'm allowed to have one, since, you know, everything that I've done in the beatboxing community. And I even shaped how bassline was seen. Because before, back then, if you were a bassline beatboxer, it was like, okay, whatever, get out of the battle, right? Get off the stage, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Because people back then really loved technicality. And technicality is pretty much doing like really fast beats. For example, you have like simple patterns, like a simple, like, I don't know, how do I put this? It's like, you can go like, sorry, let me actually sit up for this. So you can go like, sorry, because the sound's also kind of throwing me off here, but you can do like, I don't want to say, let me see. Let me turn this down really quick. Okay, so you can do things like, for example, like let me respond to them really quick. I spelled that wrong. And so pretty much like you have technicality, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, dude, you gotta do technicality. You gotta like freaking, you know, like just fast stuff." Sorry, because I'm like stopping, but you have to do like fast beats all the time. You gotta all the time, just beats, 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 no bass line. But then, you know, I come into the picture. I love bass line. I love dubstep beatboxing, and I'm like, hey, like, let's change this up. You know, let's make a name for ourselves, and that inspired a lot more people. Bass line is pretty much, you have like a whole bunch of different types of basses. You have throat bass, which throat bass is like pretty much you can use it for like a form of riff. So you can go you can do other types, which, ooh, damn, yeah, yikes, that was spooky. You can do one I like to call evil bass, which is pretty much like you can do inward bass, which inward is like through the nose pretty much, or you can focalize it on your uvula with your mouth open, so you can have like you got lip rolls, which is a form of bass thing, but it's not really bass line. Lip rolls is just like the you got a whole list, a whole spectrum. You even have the other one, which is like I'm still working on this one, but it's like one sec. One sec. Damn. I haven't practiced that in so long. It sounds just gross at this point. But there's another one. It's like pretty much. Oh, wait. What am I doing? I need to drink that. So it's like you can. Wow, that is so scary. I can't do it anymore. It's pretty much like you. It sounds like fucking the whatchamacallit, the Mongolian singing. It's pretty much like a Mongolian singing thing, but you turn it into like dubstep, pretty much. That is so crazy. What the hell? Okay, there's a little. Let me get the mic away from it a little bit. Well, okay, I can't do it anymore, but pretty much there's that. So there's like a whole bunch of types of different baseline, but pretty much this guy was like, going back to my original point, this guy was like, oh dude, you know, it's not rigged at all, and you know, you even saying that's so disrespectful and all this stuff. Now, look, I'm not saying that I should have got first place. And I'm not trying to disrespect all of the other people that entered the wild card for the American Championships. But I sure as hell did not get, I think it was last place, like 75th place. And mind you, scores were being released, right? And I was like, okay, well, let's check out the scores and see where I got. And mind you, the scores were done after a certain period of time. And so when I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at my score, I'm like looking for my name. I'm like, where'd I go? I got ones all across from all of the judges who, surprise, surprise, were close friends of this other beatboxer who got his panties in a bunch, so they asked if it was rigged. And they're following each other on social media. They were all in different discords with each other. So I was like, okay, all right. And I think that's when I actually stepped away from the scene for a final time, because I stepped away from the beatbox scene a few times, but that final time, it was like, okay, there's no point in even trying anymore, because I tried looking past the whole, like, everyone trying to sound the same, and then now there's this problem where if you didn't sound like everyone else, you weren't seen as good. And it's like, what happened to the originality, you know? Oh god, don't do that to me, okay. What happened to the originality? What happened to... Here, let's try to get these real quick. You know, like, that's something that really struck a nerve with me, because it was just one thing leading to another that made me just give up on the scene. And nice, okay, there we go. But it was like, it was clearly rigged at that point, where now I'm like, I'm in this little predicament where I'm like, okay, so sorry, I'm grabbing this. I'm in this predicament where now I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. And by the way, I'll freshen up that other form of a throat bass, and I'll bring it to a part coming up. But yeah, because I do know it. It's just, damn, it's like I gotta pick it up again. But you know, there's all these different forms of bassline. There's all this different controversy going on in the scene. Swiss beatbox isn't what it used to be anymore. They started to commercialize in like this weird BuzzFeed sort of way, and like it just, beatboxing wasn't the same anymore for me, and it just it turned into this thing where, like, you know, you kind of have to be able to read the room, and like if you're sitting in a room that you don't agree with, you don't feel comfortable in X, Y, and Z, then like, why are you still there? You know, like, what are you still doing there? Like, I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone and all that stuff. And so, pretty much, this whole beatbox thing, it went from being unique. It went from being, it was a representation of hip hop. It went from, you know, just this whole, like, this whole scene where you could spark your own creativity and it would be supported, to just this very toxic, like, more toxic than Realm of the Mad God. Like, I'm being straight up, like, it was just awful, dude. Like, and I left the scene one time because, you know, I left the scene one time because, you know, it just pretty much what happened was um, I didn't really fit in well, and you know, I was just like, ah, fuck it, I don't fit in, I'm gonna leave. So I left because I didn't fit in, and because for me, I'm like, I guess I'm different than most people, and a lot of the people who were in the scene at that time, like it was a lot of these newcomers, and they're just like, oh yeah, I gotta to be in the beatbox scene and to be hip hop means you gotta be a dick, and it's like, no, that's not what it means. And so I just didn't agree with it. I left. I joined the scene again. I started doing battles. I actually went to uh, an in-person battle again for a second time, but someone special to me ended up leaving before I even started my first battle, and so I just gave up. I even talked to a really good friend and someone I look up to of mine, Beat Rhino, about it, and I told him, I was like, because he came up to me after my battle, and he was like, "What happened?" And I was like, dude," and I told him, you know, the special person who I came with left. They left to go back to the hotel room and um and drink. And he was like, "Oh," I was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Like, once they left, someone offered me a hit of their blunt, and I was just like, fuck it." And I took a hit from the blunt and just gave up. And you know, he was like, "Dude, I could tell you weren't giving it what you have." And I was like, "Yeah, well, that's just kind of what happens, I guess, you know." And it was this huge moment because I traveled, I saved up all this money to go, and then you know, this special person in my life was like, "You know what? I would love to go and support you for once in this endeavor, like to actually be there, because they always supported me in it, but they wanted to actually be there in person this time." And I was just like, "Okay, cool. How much are train tickets?" I looked up. I saved up double, if not triple, of what I was saving up, and you know, I got us the train tickets there. We went there. We got there early, so I had to spend extra on the hotel or motel, whatever it was, because you know, it was an early sign-in thing, fee, whatever. And so, you know, I spend that extra. I'm prepping because I freestyle. I don't do routines. I freestyle. I do have a routine, but it's just one routine, and I stopped after that because I was just like, I like to let my creativity flow. But we get there, I do my elimination round, which is pretty much the qualifying match thing, and I make it in. And mind you, when I did it, there's a bunch of people, a bunch of beatboxers I was talking to at the event, and they're like, "When were you gonna tell us you had all that?" And I was just like, I don't know, man. It just kind of came out, I guess, you know. And they're like, "Dude, that's crazy," and all this stuff. But then, um, you know, oh god. But then, you know, like I make it in, and my first round is coming up, and the special person I came with, they were like, "Hey, do you mind if I go back to the I forgot it was hotel or motel. I'm just gonna say motel. You mind if I go back to the motel?" And I was like, "You're gonna have to walk there, you know?" Like, they're like, "Oh, it's fine. I'll walk." And I was like, "Please be careful. We're, you know, like a few out. It's not a few hours. We're hours away from home. I don't know this area. It's, you know, it can get really bad." They're like, "No, I'll be fine. I'll be fine." And so they leave, but when they left, I was just like, I was destroyed. I was shattered, and so I just gave up. And so that was my last battle there in person. And ironically enough, the person who was throwing the 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 fit, I'll call it, the person that was throwing the fit won those battles. So I guess it gave them some ego boost and a reason to talk down to me. But like that was the thing, is that like, you know, when all that happened, I just, you know, I gave up, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should just give this one more shot. You know, maybe I'm being too rash, maybe I'm being too hasty with my decision, X, Y, and Z, like the whole 9 yards, right? And so then there was another battle that came up, and it wasn't like a huge battle, but it was on this beach, and you know, I go there, I'm battling, and like I'm doing good, but then I get lined up for a battle with this beatboxer who, for years, I always was like, if I battle this battler, like if I battle this beatboxer, if I battle that beatboxer, this is one thing I'm gonna do in the battle. And like I just always imagined it. I always, you know, did the shower routine, right? Where I'm in the shower and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Bam, 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 you know, and I'm like, okay, cool. But then here comes the battle. My throat starts to dry up. I start to get sweaty hands, and like, you know, they're like, it's, and they said my beatboxer name, and like versus, you know, and they go geometric effects, and I I choke, and that moment crushed me so bad to where, yeah, I, for respect, I stuck around for the remainder of the battles, but I was so disappointed with myself that I choked. Not that I lost, that I choked. And it was this thing of like, I legit, and now you can call me a puss, whatever. I cried the whole few hour drive home. Mind you, on the way to this, my car started to overheat, and I had to go put more coolant in it, and all these issues that I didn't know at the time were happening with the car were happening, and giving me the worst case scenario. But I still made sure that I made it, because my car crashed down quite literally at the halfway point. I could have turned around and went back home, but I was like, I'm going to pursue my passion. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to give this a chance. I did, and I choke at the most important battle there that, well, to me, was the most important battle. You know, and I choke on it, and I'm just like, damn it, you know, I failed, and I was crying the whole way home because I was like, fuck, you know, I broke down and all this stuff, and that's how much, I guess you can say, beatboxing means to me. And it just it got to this point where, ooh, weirdoniac, rip and pickles, damn, that sucks. But like, you know, I cried all the way home, and it turned into this thing where, like, you know, I'm posting on my story about it. You know, I'm like, dude, like, I freaking choked. I suck. I'm not made for this. I should just quit. Like all this stuff, dude. Like I was just self deprecation up the hoo ha. It was wild, and so I'm. Oh, okay. It should be over here, I think. Okay, cool. It's right here. And you know, I saw this and I just I realized like, oh shit. A lot of these beatboxers who I was connected with follow, and it's a select few, right? But those few are pretty big names. And I was like, damn, no way. Did they see this? And I look at who's seen my story, and sure enough, they all saw it. And I was like, fuck. And so at that point, I was not only embarrassed that I choked, but I was embarrassed with myself. I was like this whole list of stuff. And at that point, I was like, all right, you know what? I think it's time I protect my mental health here, and I just I leave the scene for good. And I gave a lot of ooh, Dark Bebra rip. I gave a lot of final messages to a lot of people, just being like, hey, so I appreciate this, I appreciate that, I respect you for this, I respect you for that. Rinse and repeat, and I was just like, this is why I'm not coming back. I explained the whole, getting like my wild card for the American Championships getting rigged, and all that stuff. And I was just like, all right, I'm out, and I left for the final time. And yeah, I mean, I've been around since Ventrilo. I saw the birth of the TeamSpeak era, and then went from TeamSpeak to Skype, and from Skype to Discord. And I don't know. The scene's full of what I'm saying are a lot of posers. And yeah, that sounds cynical of me. Maybe it is by default. But like, the reason why I say it's full of posers is because a lot of these individuals are being taught by posers. They're being taught by other people who think they know the scene, who think they know what beatboxing's all about, which, hey, I mean, I guess anyone can say beatboxing is about this because it is that to me, right? Which, hey, you know what? To each their own. But to me, beatboxing was about originality. It was about the craft ever expanding and not bottlenecking into a specific form of it where now everyone's doing the same thing, and it's just who can do it faster, who can do the pattern faster, who can go faster, who can do that freaking it's like the lip one. It sounds like you're just it's like who can do that but like really fast. And it's just but like with like one slight twist in their round of the battle, because they'll go and it's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, that's crazy, oh my god. And it's like, I don't know, I don't know. I tried to leave my mark because I did take a beatboxer under my wing under my wing for a little bit, and I was just like, look, you have potential in you. Don't let these other beatboxers make you into them. Don't let them plaster their label onto you. Keep that originality. Keep that drive that you have. Have that confidence in yourself, and try not to be biased with yourself when it comes to improvement. Like try to make sure. Ooh, I'll take that. Try to make sure that you read the room, and if someone's trying to like be like, hey, I think that you're really sloppy with this, or I think you're really sloppy with that, or I think you're rusty and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, take it with a grain of salt. Is what they're saying legit? Can it be applied? What can be applied? Are they trying to apply their opinion onto you? Are they trying to give you constructive criticism? If so, who are they to give you constructive criticism? Like you got to ask these things like, who are you to give me constructive criticism? Well, I'm a master at musicality, which musicality is pretty much the singing end of beatboxing. Where they'll be like, oh, oh, yeah, yeah. And it's just like, okay, I get it. I mean, this is a beatbox battle, not a singing battle, but again, see right there, that's my, ooh, ooh. Like right there, that's my biased opinion. Because yeah, it is a part of beatboxing, right? Which, hey, go ham. But if you bring singing into a beatbox battle, it's like, and you're singing for like 30 seconds of your a minute 30, I don't know. I don't think you deserve to win that battle. I mean, if the other person's doing it too, okay, then I'll judge based off of that. But it's, I don't know. I don't really vibe with that. Like, you have like Gene Shinizaki, like, hey, that's cool. You went to college for music. Um, so I guess you kind of know how to incorporate singing into beatboxing. But like, I feel like if like you can use college, like music for college, as a stepping stone to level up your craft in terms of beatboxing if you need it. But like, if music can be composed by anyone. Anyone can literally just open their mouth and just start going, I don't know, like anyone can do that. And so it's like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like when you're making most of your beatbox routine, most of your battles, like involving your singing, I feel like at that point, like it's a beatbox battle. You want to speak through your beats. You want to speak through your flow, through your structure. You want to speak through the clarity and crispness of your sounds. Like you don't you don't want to go like, or I'm sorry, you don't want to go, you want to do something more like where it's more just the sound and it's incorporating the sound and it's about the sound that you're doing, because I feel like a beatbox battle is like, in a sense, like a kung fu movie when two two freaking masters of their arts are going hand to hand, and one master's throwing his blows, and it's just like, wow, that blow is powerful, it's precise. But with beatboxing, it's like with every kick, which is it's like you want to, I don't know, like you want it to sound crisp, like that's why like earlier when I was doing let's see if I can do it. I can't even do it. Damn. I need to pick it back up because that's the thing is if you stop doing a certain sound for a while, it's really hard to pick it back up. But like, no, I need dexterity. Ah, damn. Okay. But that's the thing is that like I mean that's the way I see battles, and so like perfect example is Slyku. Slyku is a beatboxer that like I was friends with in the past, and all the time, I'd be like, how do you do your kicks? How much pressure do you apply to your kicks? Are you pronunciating anything as you do your kicks? And like what patterns are you following? Like X, Y, and Z, like the whole 9 yards. Like I'm asking all these crazy questions that most people wouldn't. Most beatboxers wouldn't because they don't know like to that degree what beatboxing is. Like um when I went to my last in-person well, second to last, because the last one I went to was on the beach side. The other one was actually the one with the dude who got his panties in a bunch and told his friends to give me last place. But pretty much like pretty much when I was there, there's levels to this. Like Beat Rhino. I was telling Beat Rhino, I'm like, look, this is when it comes to baseline, this is what I think about. And he's like, I never thought of it like that. And I'm like, I mean, you know, you're more of a technical beatboxer, you know. So technical beatboxers think about pronunciating the beats. You know, they're like trying to make it sound crisp. You know, you don't want to go fucking, oh, and I hate this too because today's beatboxers, they do that freaking like along with everything that they're doing. But it's like, you know, they'll try to make it crisp. Like Skiller, dude, Skiller was crazy, and he won the world championships because of how, like, for example, the common knowledge back then was way more advanced than it is today. Like, I feel like it got diluted because of all these new gen beatboxers coming in, and they're like, oh, I can freaking do this. So that means I know everything. No, you know a pattern, and you do that pattern every time you beatbox. You know, like, and you follow a routine every time you beatbox. Like, and that's the thing too, is like they instill in your mind, they're like, oh, you gotta have a routine. You gotta have at least 7 routines. What happened to freestyling? You know? I mean, maybe that's bias of me because that's all I do is freestyle. When it comes to beatboxing, that's all I do is freestyle. Every single time I freestyle. And so it's like I can keep going for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, just nonstop going, which is a feat because there's beatboxers out there that'll go for like 10 minutes and they're like, oh my god, that was hard, and other beatboxers are like, wow, that was insane. It's like, good job, you did it for 10 minutes. I beatboxed through the entire day. That's how used to beatboxing I've gotten. And it's like one of the very few things that I do have confidence in myself in, because it's like, I mean, shit, I've done it for like, what, like 17 years, 16 years? I forget the math on it, but still, that's older than most of these new cats in the scene, you know? Older than most of these new gen beatboxers, and yet they still try to be like, oh, yeah, you're rusty. Oh, yeah, you're. It's like, you have no room to tell me how I am with this whatsoever. How long have you been beatboxing? 6 months? Okay, right, yeah. I'll take what you said with a grain of salt. That's exactly how it goes down. Like, I'm not like that all the time, though. I promise I'm not like that all the time, because guess what? I've gotten advice from Alum. I've gotten advice from ZD. I've gotten advice from freaking Ball Z. I've gotten advice from so many different hard-hitting beatboxers, and I'm like, absolutely. I will look into that 100%. Not because they were popular at the time, not because they, you know, I'm like, oh, dude, you're my idol. No, it's because they knew what they were talking about, and what they were saying was like, okay, that's legit criticism right there. That's legit, like, advice. That's something I should legit work on. You know, not only did they have the advice, but yeah, I mean, they had the skill to back it up. But, you know, that's just my opinion on it, is that, like, these new gen beatboxers now, like, whoa, you can beatbox fast, but, like, that's it? Yeah, but I do the same routine every time I beatbox fast, every single time. Okay, well, you're limited then. Well, just because I'm limited doesn't mean I'm not good. Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but your routine, it sounds like you're trying to hawk a loogie. And I hate to say that because, you know, I used to perform all the time, and it just, you know, oh, don't spit on the mic, okay? I hated that. Don't spit on the mic, okay? Don't worry, there won't be any spit on the mic, even with my salival leak. If you don't know what a salival leak is, it's pretty much I'm always producing saliva because of damage that was caused from me beatboxing for so long. So, you know, it's like, I don't know. The scene isn't what it used to be. It's definitely changed, and in my opinion, it's definitely all rigged. Like, I, I would say, because you watch like the Grand Beatbox battle, and it's like now in comparison to back then, and now the like the Grand Beatbox battle, which is held by Swiss Beatbox, is like, I don't know. How did these people get to even qualify for this? Like I find myself asking that, like, how are these people in a position to be considered one of the best in the world when, you know, you got all these other people that exist, like, for example, like B-Art from the Netherlands. B-Art's insane. Huge motivation of mine. Crazy dude. I talked to him a lot as well back then. And like, it's just, I don't know. Big Ben, I can't forget Kim, you know, the Shadow Sumos. But yeah, beatboxing, it's not worth being part of the scene anymore for me. So I've kind of adjusted again to just have my own flow, have my own creative vision when I beatbox. And I like it. I like what I do. I think it's pretty neat. Am I saying I'm the best in the world? No. Am I instigating that I'm a lot better than most of these people who are going to Grand Beatbox Battle nowadays? Oh, absolutely. 100%. However, I know at this point, from what I've been presented, well, I should say I can only assume, that type of stuff is rigged. Who has more followers? Who's going to help the people hosting uh, the battles get more clicks, X, Y, and Z, because that's pretty much what happened with Cheseme's Beatbox World Tournament that he held, his online tournament. It's just like, who has more followers, who can get more clicks, who can get us more attention on our main platform, who's going to get us more people, who's going to possibly stick around, you know, etc., etc. And it's just not a scene that I want to be a part of. Doesn't mean they can take me away from my passion, you know? Well, one of my passions. Doesn't mean they're going to rip that from me. But it definitely tore me away from the scene as a whole. Yeah, it definitely tore me away from the scene. How am I doing on time? 53 minutes? Okay, I'll be able to do this last one. I'm gonna have to end the part. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to beatboxing, I've been there since the beginning, and I saw it just crash. Now, am I saying Swiss Beatbox, you shouldn't go and follow that? No, I'm not saying that at all. Um, uh, you know, because Andres Paponi was a huge pioneer in making beatboxing much more mainstream, hands down 100%. Just the team that was hired on, the PR that ended up going on with Swiss Beatbox, I feel like it got BuzzFeeded, you know what I mean? Like, it became something that it wasn't. Like, it's just a lot, like, because back then, anyone, as long as you had the skill, could get on Swiss Beatbox. Anyone. And so, it just, that was what was cool about it, was if you got a video on Swiss Beatbox, that was a huge thing. And I almost had a video a few times on Swiss Beatbox, but I had a run-in with Peponi because pretty much I ended up getting stranded in a town over because I got myself a sponsor who was willing to record the video for me. All they wanted was for me to wear their shirt and have their banner in the background, and I was like, screw it, yeah. And so we go into his little studio that he had, because he also did photography. So we go in there, and I record it, and Andres Paponi, I send it into him. He was like, "That's great. It just needs more quality." And I was like, "More quality? Okay." And so I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" And he was like, I just need more quality is all." And I was like, "Okay." And so then I, go to Andres, not Andres Paponi. I go back to my sponsor. I'm like, "Hey, so this is the message that he sent." I showed him the screenshot, and I was like, "This is what he wants." And the sponsor was like, "Okay, I'll bust out my best camera. I'll bust out all this equipment. We'll do lighting. I got a perfect place for this. I'll even edit the sound and everything." And I was like, "Cool, cool." And he was like, "We can only do it this time, this place," which was a town over. And so, I take the bus there, and I'm like, my ride was waiting on me, right? And so I go, I record this video, I kill the routine that I made, and which is, well, I'm not going to say it because it's going to give away my identity, but pretty much, um, I like to remain anonymous, as you can probably tell. And so, I go there, I record it, I send it into him again, but I got stuck in that other town. I got stranded, and so I had to walk like, I think it was like, it's like maybe 17 miles just so I can get back home again. And so I walked there, I explained to Paponi, I was like, "Hey, this is what happened, this is, what was going on." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll review it tomorrow." And because, different time zones and everything. And and so I get a message the next day when I wake up, and he tells me again, "The video is great, I just need more quality." And I was like, right there, I was like, "Okay, so you just read everything I told you. I killed this routine, but you're still asking for more quality." Um, and I flipped out, and I start telling a bunch of um, other beatboxers about what's going on, because I'm like, "Dude, like, the pioneer himself straight up, like, did this to me." He was telling me, "Yeah, sure, it just needs more quality. It needs more quality." That's all he was telling me. Wasn't being like descriptive at all. None of that. And I'm just like, "Okay, so I got stuck in another town just for you to tell me that my video needs more quality." But then we used like this like freaking, what was it? He told me it was like he spent like $9,000 on the camera alone, plus all the setups, plus the microphone, all that stuff. And I'm still being told it needs more quality. What do you mean by that? And he just wasn't being any descriptive. And so the way I took it was, I was like, "Okay, he's literally just choosing to be hard with me, I guess, for some reason." And so I go online, and I'm like, "Hey everyone." So, well, like, I go to the TeamSpeak server, because around this time it was TeamSpeak, and I go on the TeamSpeak server, and I'm like, "Hey, so this is what's going on." And someone's like, "You should call him." And I'm going to spell it out, because I later on realized that's not a good term to be calling people who are European. But they're like, hey, so you should call him a SPIC. And I was like, what does that mean? And they're like, oh, it just means asshole, but in European. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go on Facebook, and I make a post, and I tag Paponi on this, and I'm like, yeah, blah blah blah. You did me wrong. I explained what happened, and at the end of the post, I was like, you effing, and I said SPIC, and I had no idea why I was getting messages from all these different people. I got a message from Napalm, and Napalm was like you're nothing. You should just quit. You're a piece of shit. Blah blah blah. And I'm like I don't give a fuck what you have to say, dude. You're an asshole anyways. But I'm like, what's going on? And I figure out because I'm like, wait a minute. Let me Google this. And I Googled it, and I was like, oh no, that's like calling a European the N word. And so, at that point, I'm like, oh, dude. And so then I message Paponi, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm sorry, I didn't know what that meant. He stayed silent, and a bunch of these posts were being made about me, about how I'm just awful, how I shouldn't be in the scene, how if I'm in a battle, um, I need to be made to lose, not even be able to enter, all this stuff. Like, that was probably the most anyone's ever addressed me in the scene before. And I was just like, I was like, well, I mean, I did apologize, right? Because I didn't know what it meant, but Paponi stayed silent. He was reading what I was saying, but he stayed silent. And, I was just like, damn, dude, I really didn't know. And so then I was like, you know what? Because it's only fair, I'll leave the scene. But because I made this post about it and everything, I was like, look, I'm gonna leave the scene, but know that I was led wrong. I didn't know what it meant, and I already told Paponi I'm sorry, and no one paid attention to that. No one paid attention to that at all. They just focused on the fact that like, oh, he called Paponi the pioneer right now of beatbox, SPIC, and all this stuff, and I was just like, I was like, you know what, fuck it, and I think that was the second time that I left the scene was that, and so I recently, well, not recently, couple years ago, I reached out to Paponi again. I was like, hey, you probably don't remember me, but I'm the guy that called you the S word. Again, I just wanted to clarify once more that like I didn't know what it meant, man, and like I am sorry that you were on the receiving end of such a horrible word and stuff. And he responded, and he was like, no, it's all good, man. I'm glad to see you're still around, and you're still beatboxing and stuff like that. And we had a pretty good chat afterwards. And it was just officially between him and I, swept under the rug. But like, it was like one of those moments of like, I not only was I like gullible and learned a huge valuable lesson, right? To like, if you're gonna call someone something, you better look up what that word means first, because yeah, no, yeah, no, that was a huge mistake. Because I'm not racist. I was not raised to be racist at all either. So it was like this thing of like, I even explained to him, like, look, like, my first ever friend was black. Most of my best friends have been um, not not white. Um, so like, I'm really not that person that I was painted to be. I'm really not. I just was upset that, and I explained to Piponi too. I was like, look, I was just upset the fact that like you weren't clarifying to me that like what you meant by quality. You were just saying quality, and I was upset because I ended up walking well over 10 miles to just get to my house. Just to make that video happen, and nothing came out of it, and it's just he was like, no, I get it, and so it cleared out. But anyway, so I rejoined the scene. Obviously, I'm not racist. Obviously, I stand up uh, against racist people. I'm not friends with racist people. I mean, I think a recent Discord um, event with Realm involving Realm of the Mad God shows that in flaming bright colors. Because yeah, that's not who I am. So I guess that's something. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I've experienced a lot of beatboxing as a whole. You know, beatboxing has been a part of my life since, well, I'm not going to say when, but since I was younger than 10. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of this moment where it's like, as long as I'm still doing it, I'm content with it. I don't have to have a group of people around me give me affirmations and uplifting words just for me to continue doing it. You know what I'm saying? So, with that being said and done, thank you all so much for supporting the series up to this point. I genuinely do appreciate it. If it's been a while, go drink some water. If it's been a few weeks, you may want to take a shower. If it's been a few months, you may want to brush your teeth. And if it's been a few years, you may want to eat some food. Getting some fresh outside plant oxygen air is wonderful for you. I highly recommend it. And, more and most importantly, take care of yourselves in a healthy and responsible way so you can game yet another day. Alrighty, I'll see you all in the next part, during the next part, at the time of which is the next part, once we get to the next part. So until then, I will see you there at the next part. Bye bye.